Okay, so it looks like things are going to be heating up for Nintendo's biggest titles out there. We're going to go over Metroid Prime Remastered first and kind of work our way into a couple other major games here. So what we do know right now is that Metroid Prime Remastered is doing absolutely incredible. Now, I didn't expect people to be this hype with Metroid Prime Remastered this far into the life of the game, but I didn't expect the hype and love for Metroid Prime to extend as far as it has, because Nintendo has put out some data about the game's sales so far, and I wanted to go over a couple other things myself that's kind of coming in a little bit new. So in Europe, for the top downloads, Nintendo actually put it up on the Switch news section that there was the top 15 games and Metroid Prime Remastered was number 1. So no really big surprise there. It was shadow dropped. It was at a Nintendo Direct. People are hyped for Metroid Prime 4 whenever that gets announced at some point. So it makes sense that it shot up all the way to number 1 right away. Number 1 on the eShop pretty much in all of the Western territories. So that's awesome right there. But then again, it doesn't just extend to Europe with that. It also extends to the US. On the eShop, weeks later at this point, it's still number 1 on the eShop. So right then and there, okay, still number 1 on the eShop, pretty good. Now there's been some issues with the physical copies of the game. So physical copies haven't really been as abundant, but the game still clocked in at number 2 on the UK physical sales charts. Remember, Nintendo doesn't give digital sales to any place out there. They don't give any digital sales outside of their own eShop charts to where you can see the positioning, but they don't give the sales numbers digitally to MPD or the UK or anywhere else, or even Famitsu. So the fact that Metroid Prime Remastered was number 2 on the UK charts is actually a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal, because it wasn't like it was an abundant release or anything. And the UK has been historically a bit weak for Nintendo in some of the bigger or major markets. So once again, very good across the board. But we already knew that Europe, in terms of all of Europe, Metroid Prime Remastered is doing incredibly well. It extends beyond just that. That's already really good, right? We're talking about Metroid Prime Remastered. This is obviously a 20-plus-year-old game, but remastered to look really good. And I'll give you guys the main reason why in just a bit, why I think this game is probably exceeding Nintendo's expectations. So on Amazon, there was restocks for Metroid Prime Remastered, and it immediately shot up to number 1 in the US. Number 1 on bestsellers for updated hourly, and also number 1 on new releases. Now, this game has been having stock problems since they announced the physical date. There's been issues across the board, but as soon as they put up more of those, bam, people were buying them left and right. I actually canceled my Best Buy ones that were back ordered or just basically delayed, and actually switched it over to Amazon. And it looks like I might be able to get that physical copy this week or so. So it's really cool to see that so many people are showing crazy amounts of love to Metroid Prime Remastered. And honestly, it's one of the best games released ever on the Nintendo Switch from a reviews, or at least Metacritic purpose. It's a 95, right around that original score on the GameCube. It's incredible what they've done here. And honestly, there was even room for it to be a bit better. I think it could have got even a better score if it added in some like autosave and some quality of life features here and there. But it's a pretty straight up remaster, but almost remake in some type of way in terms of what they've done with the textures and everything. And people are showing crazy love. But I think that the big thing here, why Nintendo's kind of surprised, is because they just didn't feel that people would be into Metroid Prime like that, because it doesn't have that market in Japan first and foremost. But I feel that once they kind of saw what was going on there, they obviously said, hey, look, we're restocking, we're going to get more out there. And they are. People are buying them on Amazon and in other places as well. It's becoming available. It's actually in some stores too. I've seen people show their copies they got at Walmart or other places, or even GameStop. So I love to see that Metroid Prime is back. And Nintendo's taken a really proactive stance on bringing Metroid games to Nintendo Switch. We have a lot of the 2D games. Metroid Fusion obviously is launching this week. We also have Metroid 2 as well on the GB Online NSO app. So it's great to see that. And plus, we already have Dread, which is phenomenal. We already have the original Metroid, Super Metroid. So it's great to see this. So all of this, in my opinion, is gearing up towards that big official Metroid Prime 4 release. I think that that is the big thing that Nintendo was kind of gearing up for. They're trying to make sure that everybody, even the new players, because the Switch itself has gotten so many new players and also new core gamers into the Nintendo ecosystem. Samus, this might be their first time in terms of experiencing a Metroid game. So I think that it is smart that they're doing all this, and Prime is peaking at the exact right time. This game is completely overperforming when it comes down to it, and I think that it has a very good chance to actually sell as much or more than the original release back on the Nintendo GameCube, which was the best-selling Metroid game before Metroid Dread launched and outsold it in about 6 months or so. So I do think that Metroid Prime Remastered has a very good shot at outselling at least maybe Metroid Prime 3, Metroid Prime 2, those ones, and maybe even getting close to Metroid Prime, which it'd be tough because that game is at around 2.8, 2.9 on the original GameCube. Now, of course, if you add in all the different versions of Metroid Prime 1, you have the Wii U Trilogy eShop download, you have the Wii Trilogy as well, which sold, I think, probably 500,000 or more. So if you add in all of those, obviously it's above that. I knew it would be very popular. So I'm really happy to see Metroid Prime Remastered get so much love from new and also old fans. Now let's go ahead and get into the next topic here, and that is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and what Nintendo could be possibly doing soon for this game. Will we see a blowout of information soon? Is there some big things that are happening with it? Well, I wanted to talk about that because what do we have this month? We're into the month of March. Nintendo has confirmed that they are not going to be at E3 this year, which is the first time that they won't be at the show at where there's actually a show in a long time. It's been a while, right? When it comes down to it. Yes, we've had some shows canceled. Obviously, you can't be there if it's canceled, but Nintendo usually supports E3. But this time, they are supporting PAX. We have PAX East that's going down on Thursday, March 23rd through Sunday, March 26th. It's going to be a jam-packed day full of a lot of content. You've got content creators flying out there or driving there. You've got a lot of different companies going there. It looks like PAX is going to be a big ticket item out there for gamers. Now, there's a couple different things with this. With a March 23rd launch for PAX, that is after Bayonetta Origins for Nintendo, so I think that they can kind of really focus in on what the next major game is going to be outside of the remasters, or remakes more like it, Advance Wars games. But the next big title after that is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So it's very close to April. That would be only 1 month away from the launch of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So to me, I think it makes perfect sense to get something set and ready to go for PAX with Tears of the Kingdom, because it's going to be very close to April, and I think that Nintendo's probably going to want to have something when it comes to that big title, big ticket new game, not a remaster re-release, but a big ticket new game that people can look forward to or they can start talking about, because it is getting very close. And it's not like it's late May or anything. It's like mid/early May. It's May 12th. So I do think something will be going down there at PAX. So that's something to look out for. I'll definitely be covering the show and seeing what's happening from PAX. Now, next up as well is that they're probably holding back quite a number of things, because based off of the trailers that we've seen so far for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, they really haven't shown too much. Now, if you go in depth and you analyze everything, like if you talk about like Zeltics and all these guys out there that are making Legend of Zelda content, right? They can go through and analyze and see a lot of stuff. I've analyzed the trailers myself as well, and there is a ton of different things. But for the average fan out there, well, it looks like Breath of the Wild, and there's some new stuff that they're adding in with the sky areas and maybe a little bit of underground, but they didn't show too much. But I think that if you look at the full scope of what they could show in terms of everything that we do know with some of the patents, and also if you start connecting some of the dots from the previous videos that they did have, there's a couple different things that I've noticed and I've talked about before in previous videos, but I just wanted to reiterate here for this one because I'm crazy excited about this game, and that is the re-emphasis on story. I think that this game will probably be the biggest story that we've ever seen in a Legend of Zelda game. There are multiple indicators of this being the case. I think that the fact that the latest trailer started off with that evil voice from Ganon saying like Link is going to die, some of the set pieces, even how Nintendo went back and showed off the original, how it was just originally announced with Link and them walking through like the tomb or underneath the castle and kind of going through there. I think that they're already setting up a bigger story plot and point. Now, we did also have that huge leak for Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I won't be going over any of that, but if you look through that, clearly there is a number of things that point to more characters, that point to more plot points, that point to more things to just do when it comes to the narrative of the game, and you combine that with the extra added gameplay elements and new things in the game, it's going to create something that there's going to be a lot to talk about when it comes to new trailers or even what they can put into the game. Now, one of the things with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is that game, they did not reveal all the stuff beforehand. If you look at all the content they showed off when it comes to the E3 things and also the first trailers that they had, the trailers that they had leading up to the launch, they didn't show off so many different things. Now, it was hype trailers because it was a very different style of Legend of Zelda game. So just the look of the game got people very excited, and true open world for the first time in a Zelda game. That was also super exciting, but there was a lot of stuff that was not shown at all, and you just discovered it in the game. And I think that the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is going to be very much like that with a lot of the stuff that it does. Like, they're going to show some things. I think at PAX here, or even in April, maybe there is a big blowout of Legend of Zelda. I think it's going to happen either at PAX or it's going to be April for sure, in my opinion. At least, not even like a huge blowout, but like new trailers, like a big new trailer showing off more of the game. But I think that there's going to be so much stuff that is not revealed in trailers or not revealed in anything in a direct, like a Zelda direct or anything, and that you just find out in the game. You're just gonna have to play the game because they don't want spoilers. Like, spoilers were such a big thing when I was covering The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think I showed like one enemy that Game Informer had, and I showed that in one of my videos, and people said that was a huge spoiler. So I think that they're being sensitive to that, and people complained about that quite a bit. So I think that they are being sensitive, they're taking their time, and when they do finally show this off, I think it's going to be pretty crazy what they're going to show off in some of the stuff. But once again, I'm looking forward to it. I think that people are kind of getting a little bit impatient too, and I understand that. It's been so many years since they showed up that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was getting a sequel back at E3 2019. So I can understand that people are getting impatient. They haven't really shown a lot, but I think that once they do, people are going to be like, okay, don't show anymore. It was almost like Metroid Dread, right? People were waiting for a brand new Metroid game for so long, and they showed like one or two trailers, and people are like, okay, stop showing it. You're ruining the game. I think that that's going to be the same thing here with Tears of the Kingdom. People are going to see some really cool stuff with the next trailer and stuff they show off and be like, all right, I'm good. I don't need to see any more. Most people are already content that they're going to buy the game anyway, even with the $70 price tag. So we'll see how it all ends up going. But if you want to know more about what I think with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom or even Metroid Prime, I've got plenty of videos. I'll have them linked right here on the page or in the description below, so you can check those videos out. I'd really appreciate it if you do. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and we'll see you for the next video. Peace out.